Welcome back to Holistic Healing Space, everyone. I'm your host, Holly, and today I have a really lovely guest by the name of Paula Day. Now, Paula is a highly skilled business expert and a trusted advisor with a wealth of experience. Her passion lies in supporting driven business owners to master their businesses and grow in a way that aligns with their values. So in this episode, we will be talking about the importance of our mindset in order to cultivate a healthy relationship with money. We'll be discussing how to work less and earn more, balancing family and business, as well as Paula's book, which is called the Money Playbook. So if you're a business owner or you're thinking of starting a business, then tune into this podcast to get some great tips from Paula. So Paula, welcome. I'm so pleased to have you on the podcast today to talk about money and all things mindset. Thank you so much. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Thanks, Holly. Thanks for having me on first. And yes, here to talk about some money mindset and a little bit about me. So I've come from sort of a corporate background, accountant by trade. I spent like 18 years climbing the corporate ladder, ended up sort of in and out of sort of million and billion dollar type businesses and deals and working with, high level execs and parliament and things like that before I sort of got to the point in my career where I thought, I've got to change this. I think, a lot of people can get to that point where they're like, I either continue on this path or I choose to take a different path. And what I found at that point was I just wasn't seeing my family and I wanted to see my kids grow up. I had younger kids and I just wasn't seeing them. So I knew I had to make a change and I decided to start my own business. I hired someone to help me out. It wasn't my first go at it. I'd run sort of some businesses beforehand and hired someone to help me out to become a coach. And I didn't actually start off business coaching. I started off doing relationship coaching and then moved into business coaching. So it was a different start to what I had planned, and then quickly moved to back to business coaching and consulting, which was my whole background of sort of, I guess, the past 20-something years now of just helping businesses. And so that's how I got to doing what I'm doing today.
Amazing. And there's definitely a crossover anyway, isn't there, with relationships and businesses? It's there's definitely a lot there that I guess you've learnt that's helped you as well. What an interesting background. And we all want that balance in life. And you've got 5 kids too, haven't you?
I do have 5 kids.
Wow.
So if anyone's sitting back and thinking, oh gosh, I can't do it,
Paula
believe
can.
me, you can.
It's possible. And that's really great to hear too, because I think that's what we're all seeking. I'm really interested in terms of when it comes to money, how our mindset plays a big role. And it sounds like you really know a lot about that. Would you like to share your knowledge?
Yeah. So I guess it can come up in lots of different ways. And you might feel like either in your career or in your business that you start to hit like maybe a bit of a ceiling, or you have the same sort of behavior playing out over and over again. You just can't seem to reach that next level. If you feel like you can't really charge more, or you don't want to look at the money, that it can be so many different ways that our mindset can just block us from getting to that next level. And it's just, it can be really frustrating. It can be hugely frustrating. It can show up in lots and lots of different ways. Some of the common ways that it's shown up, that I see it a lot, and definitely even from my point of view, being an accountant by trade, I still had this trait to do this, which is stick your head in the sand and just not want to look at it, right? Or perhaps you don't want to look at the bank accounts, or you don't want to look at the business accounts, or you don't want to look at the money because you've been told growing up you're not good at maths, or you've got that, I'm not good at maths, or I'm not good with money. And so often what I see is people handing it over to their partner or handing it over to a bookkeeper or an accountant. You know what, they can just look after that for me. Or a trusted friend. So many times, especially I'm going to call it out with women, like a lot of times I'll speak to women more often. You know what, hubby's better at that than me. And it's just been passed down through the generations of, you're not good with money or you're not good with maths. And it
Yeah.
can show up in that way, which is, just not wanting to look at it. Another way is thinking that money is evil or it's not good if you make a lot of money. And, that can also stem from stories from childhood or stories from around you that you've seen. And almost every movie is like this, where the rich person is not the good person, and so we can end up in this space of thinking that it's actually evil to ask for money, and that it's actually, if I have this gift, I shouldn't be charging a lot for it, or I shouldn't charge for it. And so this can keep you in a cycle of keeping you poor, because you're too afraid to raise your prices or charge what it's actually worth, or even charge at all. There can be whole industries around that where you feel like you can't really charge for what you're worth.
Yeah, that's so true. I've been guilty of both of those myself. So, and I know how difficult it can be to shift that mindset and that pattern. And like you said, it can come from what we learn in childhood or our culture or conditioning or whatever it is. And it's really important for people to know that that's just a belief, and it's, you can shift and change that. And like you said, there are industries that you feel like you can't charge more, or you shouldn't charge more, or sometimes it's the people around you who are not charging more or stepping up, and then you kind of stay in that frequency. So you need people like you to say, hey, move to this frequency, we can do this, we can shift. And yeah, that's really important, isn't it?
It's really important. Yeah. Like I see it a lot with natural therapies and that sort of industry, where what they're doing is really valuable, but because they're coming from the heart and not, a lot of the industry is not charging really what they're worth, there is a tendency to feel like you can't charge more.
That's very, very true. So anyone out here in that industry, it's very important to know your worth, isn't it, really, that you can charge for services.
Yeah, to know your worth, like absolutely, because sometimes you've got all of this experience and, maybe you've set your prices, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Sometimes I'm speaking to clients and they've set their prices maybe 10 years ago, and they're too scared to increase those prices. What if I lose my current clients? What if I don't attract anyone? In that time, they've actually grown their skills. They've got better at what they do. Like, all of these things have added to it, but they haven't been able to step up and go, you know what, I am actually worth more now.
Yeah.
So afraid what will happen.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. So what are some ways that people can help to, I guess, shift their mindset around how they view money?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is like identifying, if you can identify what that block is for you, because, it's not going to be the same for everyone. You might be the one, who's feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not looking at my money. Or you might be undercharging, or you might be thinking it's evil, or you might be thinking that, you know what, I can't really make this much money because my whole family has never made this much money, or none of my friends make this much money. And if I make this much money, I don't even know what's going to happen to me. I might lose everyone. They might think I'm silly or whatever. So it can appear in all different ways, this money blocks that you can get. So first of all is to identify what's in the way, so that then you can work towards correcting it. So, if you're the one who's got the head in the sand, just the first step is to get intimate with that money. Just decide that, okay, I'm going to take the first step. You might not on the first week end up with a whole budget or cash flow or anything like that. You might open the bank account. You might set some time aside, and you might actually look at the finances and look at the money and go, okay, well, what do I need to know to understand this? Because it's your money. Like, if you're running a business or you're in a career, it's your money, and you have the right to ask as many questions and sound as silly as you want. Like, if you think that you're going to sound silly, it's not silly to ask these questions. Just ask as many questions as you need to understand it, right?
Yeah.
To understand it. Because what I find with a lot of businesses is people will start to run a business, but they think, oh, I'm making all this money, but they're not considering the tax. They're not considering that they're going to have to pay for all of these expenses. They're not considering all of these different things. So what's left in the end is actually not as much as what they thought they had.
Yeah.
So having a really good understanding of it will give you better targets, will get your head in the right space of knowing what you need to know. And it just lets you feel good about like where you're at. You know where you're at, and now we can step forward rather than just being oblivious to it.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I like that you said ask questions. It's so important to, doesn't matter how silly the questions might sound, like you said, it's your money and you need to know. So in terms of the blocks, that's so true. It's recognizing the blocks first, isn't it? And then being able to work through them. What are some other critical mistakes that you feel people make in the initial phases of their business or, throughout their business, I guess?
Yeah. So there's quite a few different things that can pop up for different people, right? So, but the first thing is, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have that clear vision of where you're going and you're just sort of following what someone's telling you or what you think you've read in a book or something like that, that's your next step. If you don't really know where you're going and factoring in your circumstances, your season of life, then it's really difficult to know that you're going to hit it. So having that clear vision is really, really important, and just being aware that you're not the same as someone else. Like, so even if you're, hiring a coach or you're getting a program or you're reading a book about how to get your business up and running, that your journey might be different, right? My journey was very different at the start of my business because I had young kids. Now I have older kids. I'm in a different season of life, and also, heading into a different season of life with what I want to achieve. So it's knowing what that vision is. Secondly, know your money, like get intimate with it, because there's just so many business I've spoken to, like they've been in business for 5 years, 6 years, 12 years, still not really across the money, working really, really hard in the business, wondering why they still can't really pay themselves well or sometimes at all. So we want to make sure that if you are running a business, like you probably started it to have money, that you can actually take some money for you and be paid really well for it. So just looking at that.
And I guess, there comes a point where you need to seek, you need to outsource or seek assistance with those things. It can get really overwhelming. I find myself, I'm going to put my hand up, I'm not great with that side of things, and I do get overwhelmed, and I think a lot of people do. And sometimes you might have more of a creative mindset or whatever, but that's still putting yourself in a box. I guess you can expand from that, but we all need help too, don't we?
Yeah, like that's, and I see that as establishing, the team of people around you that you need to achieve your dream. Like, and that's going to evolve over time. Like often, if I think of like some of my current clients have come to me, like, they've probably worked with someone before, they've done a program, or they've worked with someone and they've got so far, but it's going to evolve over time. So looking at, who do you need around you? Do you need someone, you might need a bookkeeper, you might need an accountant, you might need a coach, you might need a personal assistant to look after things. But looking at what your needs are and not just looking at it from a point of business as well. Like if you are a parent or you are a carer, or sometimes we forget that we can actually ask for help in our life as well.
Yes.
Not just in the business. And, this is where a lot of, parents get blocked, or especially parents who have, kids with special needs, or if you're looking after someone, a partner or a parent who's got some health issues as well. Like your time is limited. So think about like help, where do you need it specifically? Because your needs will be different to someone else's. Like I don't want to look at a school newsletter. There was one time when last year we had 4 schools. Like I don't want to look at a school newsletter. I can't read 4 school newsletters and get everything out of it, right? So, my personal assistant's going to handle that sort of stuff, right? For me, a personal assistant who can do some business and some life admin is essential. But for other people, it won't be, right? For some people, they're going to have young kids and, maybe it's, having a bit of childcare rather than a bit of help in the business is a cheaper way to give you time, or it's a cleaner or someone to come in and prep the food. Like look at what you're doing and think of, is this the money-making activity, or can I get some help here? Is it going to move me forward to my goal, or is it hindering me?
Yeah, I love that. And I think asking for help can be a big block for a lot of people too, can't it, really? But I love that you said that it's not just, looking for help in other areas. We forget, where else can I just ease the pressure a bit? So that's really helpful. And I have read your book, The Money Playbook, which I'd love to chat a bit about. I found it really, really helpful. Can I ask why you wrote it or anything really? I'd just love to hear more about it from your side.
Okay, so when I started writing the Money Playbook, I think I put that in there as well. Is I was like, who am I to talk about money? So like a block came up for me, like, oh my gosh, like who am I to talk about money? And I had to remind myself that, gosh, Paula, you're an accountant. You've been doing this since, you were like 21 or whatever. So, you've been doing it for a really long time, and it's okay to talk about money, and people need to talk about it more because it's just not spoken about. And especially in small businesses, what I see every single year when I do my research at the start of the year, so many businesses have failed. And it's usually like a really high percentage, 60%, 70% of small businesses fail. And it's not because of lack of passion, and it's not because of lack of sales. It's usually lack of cash. Like they simply run out of cash. So knowing this, it's really important. So I wanted to share that because I think there's a lot out there on here, write the business plan in this way or do your marketing in this way or whatever. But it's understanding that you're running a business and you need to understand about money, and it's okay to build this business in a way that makes you money and gets you the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's really important. And how would you, I think you've already kind of answered this question, I guess, but if there's anything more to add about how we can cultivate a healthy relationship with money.
Yeah. This is where all those blocks will come up, and sometimes we're not going to recognize them because we've been living them for years and years and years, and that's just how we've been showing up. And so, this is where you get, if I give you an example, like going back, we sort of have these limits, and if I go back to when I had like a divorce in my life, and I lost the business, and I lost a marriage, and I lost all my money and I built that up. I owned a home, I had all of this stuff, and I had to start from scratch again. But because I was used to having money, and I was used to having the home, and I was used to having the car, and I was used to having the kids at private schools, I was able to build that up really fast because that was my limit. Like I wasn't prepared to go below that. And it's just like it came around me because I knew that that's where I needed to get to. But going beyond our limits is usually the hard bit. And that's where we need to look for, okay, have I got my head in the sand? Am I not feeling worthy about charging these prices? Like where am I getting in my own way? Am I scared about failing here? Am I scared about success here? And just being really real of like what is coming up and what's getting in my way, and okay, how am I going to get out of my way to do this? Because sometimes we can even just get really busy doing all the things and pushing harder and harder and harder because that's what we've been taught to do, like hustle harder.
Yeah.
But that's, in that book, that's why a big reason why I've written it is because you don't have to do that. You can set your business up to simplify things for you and work around your life, your vision, your goals, and also make a lot of money. You've just got to do things a little bit differently to what you're doing currently.
Yeah, and that's so important because, a lot of us are conditioned just to think that we have to hustle, and that was how I was too. And with the work I do as a counsellor, it's a common thing to watch. And I like that you said about your limits. You really sometimes believe that that's your limit and you don't feel that you can actually rise above or aim higher. And it's nice to hear that too. Not nice to hear for you, actually, that's the wrong way to put it, but for knowing that we can build ourselves back up again. And I think, that gives people a lot of hope. We can always build ourselves back up. It's just about taking the right steps. And I guess the next question is $1 million question, which you kind of just started to delve into, is how can we make more money and work less?
Yes. This is, and I've got so many tips in that playbook on this. So, but how to make more money and do it in less time. I think that's the key, because we only have so many hours in a day. And if you think about it, there are plenty of people out there making heaps of money and they're probably not working anymore. They can't work any more than some people, right? So some people are working harder and harder and harder, and they're filling up all their time, and they think, oh gosh, how am I going to get to that next level? Because there is no more time in my day. And, I could take on an extra job, or I could take on an extra client, or whatever it is, but where would I even place them? And so that's where we need to have a look and go, well, we've got to do things differently. So sometimes, a lot of the time when clients come to me and they have this problem, their business is growing, usually. They're working really hard and they're like, we've got to hire a team, we've got to hire more team, but we're like, all frazzled. We don't want to do it wrong. We want to come, we're going to get some help here. Often, very often, team is not the first thing. Often we're getting the infrastructure in place, or we're looking at, okay, well, where are you actually spending your time? Could we do it better, smarter, quicker, automated, streamlined? Like, you're looking at how do we set these systems up to make it work for you? And that's going to be different for every single person.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you're going to love one part of your business. Like, you might love being creative, and that's the space that you want to stay in. You don't love the other stuff, but you know how to do it, and it's hard to sort of part with it, or you've always done it that way, so that's the way you're going to do it. So we want to keep the stuff that you love, but the stuff that you don't love, we want to be able to have a look at that. Okay, can we do it better? Can we do it smarter? Can we streamline it? Can we automate it? Is it the right step to do it now, or is it the right step to do it later? And that comes with analysis. That comes with looking at it. And it comes with looking at a number of different things. So that's just, I guess, one space that we can look at. But there's a few other things in the picture too, like optimizing prices, like having a look at, have you even increased those prices,
Yes.
right? Or are you sitting there on prices that you have been on for a number of years and it's time to up those? Or have you been too scared to do that from fear that, oh, I'll be priced out of the market, or no one will purchase my service? But what I can say with, if you're having that fear come up, is if we just look at the economy, like you've got the less expensive, shops like, Kmart or Target, you can go and buy a handbag, it's going to cost you barely anything, might last you a season, it's all good. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then you've got the handbags from like Chanel, and then you've got everything in between. And you've got to buy it from all of those spaces. You've got people who are ready to buy at all of those levels.
That's so true.
It's the same in your business. It's the same in your business, right?
Yes. Great to remember that, actually. Yeah, it's once again, it comes back to our limits, or what we perceive as what we're worthy of. And
yeah, absolutely. Working with one of my current clients, we've been working together, I think October we met. They were just doing like very small clients, people that businesses that you wouldn't remember their name, like they're small businesses, and they were growing fast. 2 weeks ago, they did Dior. They've moved up, and now who they're doing, like the clients they're serving, are on the bigger level, because they've just kept on taking the step forward.
Yeah. But
so many people stay in one space because they don't think that there's a possibility of moving.
That's so true. 100%. Well, in terms of women in business and family roles and money, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, as a mother of 5 children, from my perspective, it sounds like a big balancing act. What are your thoughts on women in business with families?
Well, I've always been in business with the family, and I started off doing it, I guess, the hard way, working really, really hard to build my career and not seeing my kids so much. But I had always had the money coming in, and I didn't like that. I didn't like like seeing my kids on a photo on my desk thinking, gosh, I'm doing this for you guys, but I'm not getting to see you guys. Like, I knew I wanted to make a shift at some point. I knew I wanted to see them more, and I knew I wanted to do it differently. But this is going to look different for every single person, right? So, some people are going to be like, you know what, I just want to spend some years with the kids, and then I'll go back and I'll get back, a job, or I'll get my business set up then. And there is no right or wrong. Like, just knowing that there's no right or wrong. It just is. It is your journey wherever you're at, but you do have the ability to create whatever you want wherever you are. Like, even if you're standing there now going, oh my gosh, like, I haven't been working for ages, or I haven't taken any steps forward, you just have to take the first step, because you never know where that first step is going to end up. And I mean, if I share with you, I don't know if I shared with you, Holly, like, one of my first businesses was actually a t-shirt business. I ran a t-shirt business while working corporate, right? And I thought that I was going to jump into that. But all I did was listen to a podcast, follow every step that it said in the podcast. And so I listened to someone like what I'm telling you now. I just followed and I took action. I ended up hiring a coach who, like, I found a Tony Robbins coach who had created a similar business, and she helped me, and we built this business which went so well. It ended up being on the top 10 pages of Amazon. It was going very well. But just knowing that you just have to take that first step, and you never know where that first step's going to lead you, but you've just got to take it. It's that action before knowing, or before having complete clarity.
And that can be a scary step for a lot of people. I know, it was for me too. I keep, saying that, but it can be, because it's that unknown. It's like, what if? And then your fears come up, those blocks of, what if I do that? It doesn't work out. And, like you said, you're not going to know until you take that step. But I like that you talked about having that vision and kind of knowing where you're going, or having, that vision, and who knows which way it'll go sometimes. But it is taking that first step and just taking that leap.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's taking the leap. And not, as you said, like, you might fail. And I'm going to say it, you will fail. Like, if you are going to succeed, everyone who's succeeded has failed over and over and over again. They've just got back up.
Definitely.
Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to go and get another job. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You just get back up and you just keep going towards whatever that vision is. It's the people who don't get back up that are out of the game.
That is so true. And you learn, don't you? You look back on your experiences, and I guess you can kind of see, oh, that's why it didn't work. Oh, that's what I did wrong. And taking the learnings and getting back up. I love that. It's so important. So in terms of a healthy work-life balance, which I think we're all seeking too, do you have any thoughts on how to cultivate that?
Yes. So that is one of my tips in the Money Mindset book as well, because nothing will ruin a business, a career, your money more than your relationships going down. Because when your relationship is not good, what's not good? Like, everything around you. Like, if you're fighting with your partner, or it's not great, or you're not in the relationship that you want to be in, with yourself, with your partner, with your family, like, it affects everything. It starts showing up in your health. It starts showing up in your interactions. It starts showing up in your business. And a lot of businesses do break up when a relationship breaks up. And that's how I lost my t-shirt business, right? So it's so important. It is so important. So coming into this business, I was so clear of the relationship had to be a key. Like, I had to make room for that. And when you're, especially as a woman running a business, you are in your masculine a lot in your business, right? So you're there, you're getting stuff done, you're taking action. And when you switch into your relationship, it's so important that you don't go in with that. Because if you go in with the masculine, you'll force your partner into their feminine. And this is where you get the interactions of, you know what, I just feel like it's off. I feel like we love each other, but I feel like something is not working. Something's not working because usually the energies are off. So making time, I like to make a little bit of time to shift into my feminine, to be able to go, you know what, I don't have to talk about business all the time with my partner. I actually just want to, be with him and enjoy our time. Some people like to have a shower. My coach shared with me that one of her good friends has a shower and actually like scrubs everything down. Like she's getting rid of the business and she's into like mom and partner mode, right?
Yeah.
Another one of my clients, she liked to visualize like she's taking off the business hat and she's putting on the family hat. For me, I just like to take a couple of deep breaths. I close everything down. I know that my team is on top of everything. I let them know that I'm not going to be touching things for, quite some time, and it's family time.
Yeah.
Or it's partner time. So I'm just can be fully present. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not answering anything. The team's got me, right? That time, it's so, so important. So important.
Definitely. It's like really learning how to compartmentalize, isn't it? And I love that you spoke about moving back into your feminine energy because, it's so important to switch to that in a relationship. And I've had businesses with partners in the past, and I look back now and I can see where I wasn't able to do that. And all we did was talk about business, and it just ruined the relationship. And we need that balance. That's great advice. I've taken a few bits and pieces from there. Thank you. I feel like you have answered this one again, going through everything we've just spoken about, but if there's anything more to add about how people can ensure that they're building a solid foundation within their business, anything else you'd like to add there?
Yeah, I guess especially when you're building, I guess there's different stages of business. So when you first start off and you're building that solid foundation, get a good plan in place. Like, don't go into this blindly thinking, I'm just going to, master this and do this thing over here. Like, really know what you are aiming for. What's that next goal for yourself that you're striving towards, and have a bit of a plan to get there. So, when you're first starting off in business, it really is all about authority building and marketing and mastering sales and things like that. As your business moves up, and it starts to, bring in the sales, then it's a different space that you've got to play in. Then you're looking at, okay, well, how am I running this? Because often this is where the businesses, they're running like a startup and they've got to shift into running like a bigger business. And so because you can't scale your time, like you don't have any more of that. And most likely you want to get some of that back. So that's where we start to look at, okay, well, how can we actually set this business up in a way that works for you, not against you?
Yeah.
Works for how you work, not against you. And this is how, you can set things up in different ways to work for you. I've got like little alarms going off. I like to have little sprints of things. I like to get the hard things done first. Like, I'll have little habits set up that make it easy for me. But for other people, they're like, I really love the delivery of my business, but I don't love this bit. So we want to make sure that they're in that bit, fully loving life, building the business from where they want to be. But other people are going to be like, you know what? I just built this business really to make a profit, and I want other people under me. It's going to be all different models.
Yeah.
But just knowing what's right for you and having a plan, looking at your finances, knowing your money before you make a decision, right? Yeah. Understanding it, understanding where you're going and understanding how to get there.
Beautiful. Yeah, knowing what's right for you is important, isn't it? And knowing that you can get there with your advice. So
yeah, you can always get there. Like, this is the thing. Like, there's so many people out there doing amazing things, and someone's probably already done something similar to what you're about to do or are doing. All you need to do is keep on taking the step forward.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of making an impact in business, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really important to me to make an impact in business. Like, it's really important to me to, I guess, spread my message, because I feel like when I started to write this Money Playbook, I had read, like, before that, I'd read so many business books. I'm like, I am going to know everything. And this is what a lot of people do when they start, especially women. Like, we feel like we've got to know like everything. We could do every course. Like I've been there, done that, like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got to have that. I've got to have this next qualification. I've got to have this next thing. And for me too, it was like, I'll have to read all of these books. And what I noticed is most of the business books were actually written by men, and they were written a long time ago. And they were written for a different era of women were supporting their guys, or, they had some sort of support system in place. And so when I looked at some of the things, I think there was one concept there. I was just like, there's no way I could do that. Like, there is no way I could operate like that. I operate completely differently to what these books are saying. And I wanted to show people a different way, that you can actually achieve what you want in business without hustling really, really hard. You can set it up in a way that will work for you, and you can make money. It's okay. You can work out how to do that for your business. And you can do it in a way that suits you, like around your season of life. Like some of my clients are, have young children. Some of my clients have, are into that season of, they're heading towards, this is the last 5 to 7 years that I'm going to have this business, and that we close up shop, right? This is our exit plan. Just know where you're sitting in that season of life, and also in the season of business. And you can set that up in a way that suits you, so that you're not one of those people who are getting to becoming one of the statistics of having to close down because you've run out of cash, or you've had your business has failed. You are actually across everything. You are aware of what's going on.
100%. Well, thanks, Paul. I think we're coming to the end of the podcast, but is there any other words of wisdom or anything that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think if you're sitting there and, if you're at the start of your career or your business, and you're scared and you're thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to charge more, or how am I even going to be able to do this? Just know that if you are in that space and you are feeling scared, or you are feeling like you are failing, or you're feeling like you're not worthy, or you can't do it, it's only because it's a road less traveled. It's only because it's a different path to what you have been shown, right? And that's it. It's a less comfortable path because it's not the path that most people are going to walk. Yeah, so just know that, it's okay to take that step forward. Find, I would suggest finding your community, finding, your people, finding a podcast like this where you can tap into it and tap out of what the norm is for you right now, so you can see what that different side is. And if your business is actually moving along and you've been in it for a while, I would suggest that you take some of these tips just to go, okay, well, am I looking at my money? Am I running this business as smoothly as possible, or am I still running it the way I have been for a really long time? And do I need to have a look at it now? How can I do this differently? How can I do this better? How can I make this a smoother run business and grow it in a different way? So 2 different perspectives from 2 different, spaces.
Great. I love that. Very motivating. And so how can people access the Money Playbook? How can they get their hands on that?
They can just download that at if they go to pauladay.com.au/the Money Playbook. You can download that for free, and that's just got a lot of the tips that we discussed today in it, but it's all strategies to simplify things in your business and help you just make some more money.
Definitely worth a read. I really, really got a lot out of it. And we'll pop all your details below in this podcast, Paula, so people can contact you. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. I've gotten so much out of it myself, so I'm really happy, and I'm sure the audience will too. I really, really appreciate your time to chat and share your knowledge today. It's really helpful for a lot of people.
Oh, thank you, Holly. Thanks for having me on.